treatments that magnify their risk of developing kidney disease by extraordinary levels. These adaptations, which may have protected people from parasitic diseases on the African continent, have become extremely maladaptive in Western societies, rendering those at risk susceptible to developing end-stage kidney disease, ESKD, as they age. Yet paradoxically, African Americans in the United States continue to have less access to kidney transplantation, the most desirable ESRD treatment, compared to patients of other race and ethnic groups. The kidneys have been part of our collective consciousness since at least biblical times. The kidneys are mentioned 11 times in the 5 books of Moses, as both sacrificial items and the seat of some of humankind's most profound emotions. As biblical scholar Robert Alter opined, the kidney was the organ of conscience. That was long before classical, medieval, and Renaissance physicians and scientists identified the ureters as the connection between the kidneys and the bladder. These early investigators realized that the bladder was not the source of urine, but merely its penultimate destination after its creation by the kidneys and subsequent transport through the ureters. The understanding of the excretory function of the kidney worked against its previous spiritual standing. The loftier aspects of emotional life were then assigned by the authors of the King James Version of the Bible to the reins, after the Old French name for the kidneys. That ancient notion of the deep importance of the kidneys to an individual's personality persists in somewhat older bits of the English language. Shakespeare's 17th century Falstaff is dismayed by the treatment he receives from the Windsor folk, treatment that a man of my kidney, in effect of his temperament, disposition, or standing, should never experience. In the 19th century, James Fenimore Cooper's and Benjamin Disraeli's use of the phrases pretty much of the same kidney and but all of the right kidney, respectively, meaning the same sensibility or the right set of people, conveyed similar ideas. We might now say, as the kidneys have lost their clout, that she's a woman after my own heart. Meanwhile, in Italy and England, investigators elucidated some of the less romantic inner workings of the organs. Kidney disease, however, couldn't be easily or widely diagnosed until the latter half of the 19th century. Dr. Richard Bright, in Victorian London, linked anatomical disease of the kidneys with patients' symptoms, an important advance in medical science. Until then, how kidney disease manifested itself was unclear. Really a conundrum of swelling and other complaints, and maybe, if the doctor looked, or had the tools, abnormalities in the urine. Since the diagnosis of kidney disease was difficult to make, and therefore its presence so obscure, we know little about pre-Victorian era people who had kidney disease. The legend of Mozart's death from uremia, or poisoning resulting in kidney failure, stands out in this regard. We do know Emily Dickinson died of kidney failure, because her death certificate so states, although how the diagnosis was made remains unknown. As kidney disease became better understood as a common affliction, however, the number of people who died with or from the illness has been astonishing. They include actresses Sarah Bernhardt, Jean Harlow, and Veronica Lake, showman Buffalo Bill Cody, playwright George Bernard Shaw, composer Cole Porter, pianist Art Tatum, and General Douglas MacArthur. For those who expired before 1973, the diagnosis of uremia was typically a death sentence. The ESRD program was enacted in the early 1970s through the joint efforts of Belding Scribner and other physicians in the new specialty of nephrology in coordination with patients who raised their voices in public, as well as through advocacy groups and specialty societies, with the help of politicians and considerable legislative legerdemain. The United States led the way.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.